When it comes to understanding emotional shifts, you have to realize just how deeply human connections are rooted in psychology. When you create space, when you pull back your energy, something remarkable happens in the other person's mind, especially a man's. Suddenly, you're not just someone he casually interacted with, you become someone he starts to think about, someone he begins to notice is missing. And here's the thing, people don't miss what they still have constant access to. When you stop texting, stop calling, and stop being the one who initiates, it disrupts the normal flow he's accustomed to, and that disruption creates curiosity. Think about it. When you've had something every day, be it attention, affection, or routine, and it's suddenly no longer there, your mind naturally starts to ask, what happened? Where did they go? Did I do something wrong? This is how emotional shifts begin. His mind starts to wonder why you're no longer reaching out. And that small seed of curiosity grows into an urge to connect again. It's not manipulative, it's human nature. We're wired to seek answers to the things that leave gaps in our daily lives. And when you're the one creating that gap, you become the answer he wants to find. What's fascinating is that this isn't just about making someone miss you. It's about allowing the natural emotional balance to shift. When one person constantly gives and the other simply receives, there's no need for the receiver to step up. But when the giver stops giving, the receiver has to question their role and whether they need to take action. This is why stepping back can often have such a profound effect. He will start to evaluate the connection he had with you. He'll replay conversations, wonder if he misreads your signals, and begin to feel the absence of your presence. And that's the key. Absence truly does make the heart grow fonder, because it allows someone to see what they had, something they may have taken for granted. This is why emotional shifts matter. It's not about games or manipulation. It's about creating space for someone to realize your value without constantly reminding them of it. And when that realization hits, the desire to reconnect becomes overwhelming. That's when the calls and texts start, not out of obligation, but out of genuine curiosity and interest. It's a powerful dynamic shift that works because it's rooted in authentic human behavior. When you stop reaching out, something profound happens in a man's mind that forces him to confront his own emotions. Men, like anyone else, can get comfortable when things feel predictable. They often operate in patterns and rhythms, and when you consistently text or call, it becomes part of their routine. But the moment you pull back, you interrupt that flow. You create a break in the cycle, and that's when self-reflection begins. Initially, he may not even realize it. At first, he might enjoy the silence, thinking he has more time for himself or that you're just busy. But as the hours turn into days, something deeper starts to stir. His mind begins to wonder, why haven't I heard from her? Did I do something wrong? Is she okay? Or is she pulling away? These questions tap into a man's inner insecurities and emotions, making him look inward to examine his own behavior and forward behavior and feelings toward you. You see, men are often conditioned to avoid vulnerability. Society teaches them to suppress feelings and act indifferent. But when faced with the absence of someone they care about, those defenses start to crumble. The space you create compels him to process what you mean to him without the comfort of your constant reassurance. It's as if your silence holds up a mirror, forcing him to see his own reflection in the relationship. And let me tell you, that reflection can be powerful. He begins to notice what he's missing, the little things you used to say, the way you made him laugh, or even just the comfort of knowing you were always there. Absence magnifies importance. And it's in this quiet space that he starts to realize just how much he valued having you in his life. And here's the truth: people value what they fear losing. By stepping back, you give him the opportunity to feel that fear, not in a manipulative way, but in a way that allows him to truly appreciate what he had. As time passes, his mind will naturally drift toward you more frequently. The silence becomes loud, and the unanswered questions create a sense of urgency. It's this process of self-reflection that often motivates him to take action, to reach out and reestablish the connection. And when he does, it won't be because he feels pressured. It'll be because he genuinely wants to. Your absence creates the space for his emotions to rise to the surface. And that's where meaningful change begins. When a man realizes that you're no longer reaching out, his ego often comes into play. For many men, especially those who have grown accustomed to being pursued, the sudden shift in your behavior can feel like a challenge. It's not just about missing your texts or calls. It's about the subtle but powerful signal you're sending that you're not waiting around for his attention anymore. And that can shake his sense of control in the dynamic. At first, his reaction might be casual. He may convince himself that it's no big deal, that you're just busy or preoccupied with something else. But as the silence stretches on, his thoughts begin to shift. Is she losing interest? Did she meet someone else? Why isn't she acting the way she used to? These questions aren't just fleeting, they start to gnaw at him. Men, even those who seem indifferent, have a natural inclination to want what feels unattainable. The moment you stop chasing, you unknowingly become more desirable. This isn't about manipulation, it's about rebalancing the dynamic. When you pull back, you're creating space for him to reflect, not just on you, but on the value you bring to his life. And in that space, something else starts to happen. Curiosity turns into action. His ego might nudge him to test the waters to see if you're still there waiting. That's often when you'll notice the first signs, perhaps a quick text, a casual check-in, or a like on one of your social media posts. These small actions are his way of probing, of trying to gauge whether he's still on your radar. But the real transformation happens when he realizes that you're not playing games, you've simply shifted your focus to yourself. When you stop reaching out, you're silently communicating that your energy is now reserved for things that nourish your growth, your happiness, and your peace. And let me tell you, nothing grabs a man's attention more than a woman who radiates self-worth. It's as though he begins to see you in a new light, a light that shines brighter because it's no longer dimmed by overextending yourself. This is where the power of your silence speaks volumes. Without uttering a single word, you demonstrate that your value doesn't depend on his acknowledgement. And for a man, that realization can be deeply compelling. It's not just his ego driving him to reach out. It's a genuine recognition that he stands to lose someone extraordinary if he doesn't step up. And that moment, you've done more than shift the dynamic. You've elevated the standard of how you deserve to be treated. When a man begins to notice your absence, it creates a shift in his emotional awareness. This shift isn't always immediate, but it's significant. Men often rely on consistency, even if subconsciously. When you were the one who always texted first, always made plans, or always checked in, it became a pattern he relied on. Now that the pattern is disrupted, he's left to deal with the emotional void it creates. It's not just about missing your messages or calls. It's about realizing what life feels like without you at the forefront of his attention. And initially, he might resist acknowledging this. He might distract himself, focus on his work, or even convince himself that your silence is temporary. But as time goes on, the emotional impact becomes harder to ignore. Suddenly, the things he took for granted, your kindness, your attentiveness, your presence, begin to stand out. It's as if your absence magnifies your value, and he starts to reflect on the depth of the connection he had with you. This stage often brings a wave of introspection. He may start to replay conversations in his mind or think about the moments when you were fully present for him. What did he overlook? Where did he fall short? These questions arise because your silence creates space for him to confront his own emotions. And that space is powerful. It's where growth and awareness begin. He realizes that while you were pouring your energy into the relationship, he might not have reciprocated in the way he should have. This reflection can evoke a mix of emotions. There's the initial discomfort of facing his own behavior, but there's also a newfound appreciation for you. He begins to see the effort, the care, and the love you brought to his life. And it's this realization that often compels him to take action. He may not always express it openly at first, but the emotional pull becomes undeniable. He starts to feel the urge to reconnect, to reach out, to bridge the gap that your absence has created. But the most critical part of this process is not about him, it's about you. Your decision to step back wasn't to teach him a lesson, it was to honor your own value. And in doing so, you've given him the opportunity to truly see you not as someone who is always available, but as someone whose presence is a privilege. This shift in perception can lead to a deeper connection, but only if it's rooted in mutual respect and effort moving forward. By stepping back, you've created the possibility for something more meaningful to emerge. When a man finally decides to reach out after you've withdrawn, his initial messages or calls often reveal a lot about his state of mind. Sometimes the tone of his words might seem casual, as if nothing significant has shifted. But make no mistake, behind every "hey, how are you" is a much deeper narrative. Men often find it challenging to express vulnerability outright, so their attempts to reconnect may come wrapped in layers of nonchalance. However, the underlying reason for his outreach is clear. Your absence has sparked his awareness. When you stopped reaching out, it created a void in his routine. He might not have admitted it to himself initially, but as time passed, he began to notice the gap where your energy once was. Perhaps he scrolled through old messages, looked at photos, or revisited conversations in his mind. It's not just nostalgia, it's the realization of how much your presence enriched his life. That awareness is powerful because it shifts the dynamic. He's no longer the recipient of your constant effort. Instead, he's the one who feels compelled to act. The first step he takes to reach out might seem small, but it's significant. It's his way of testing the waters, of gauging how you respond. This is a pivotal moment because your reaction will set the tone for what follows. If you jump back in with the same energy as before, it risks undoing the balance you've worked so hard to create. But if you maintain your boundaries, if you respond with grace but restraint, it signals that you value yourself just as much as you value the connection. This is not about playing games or creating distance for the sake of control. It's about ensuring that any reconnection is built on mutual respect and effort. When you stop texting and calling, you set a precedent. You show that you're not someone who chases or overextends for anyone unwilling to meet you halfway. That message is not just empowering for you, it's also clarifying for him. He begins to see that if he wants to be in your life, he has to step up and contribute meaningfully. As the conversation unfolds, pay attention to his intentions. Is he genuinely interested in rebuilding trust and connection? Or is he simply trying to fill the void temporarily? This discernment is crucial because it ensures that you don't fall back into patterns that prioritize his needs over your own. By stepping away, you've given him the chance to reflect on your worth, and now it's his responsibility to prove that he values you enough to invest consistently. Ultimately, your decision to walk away wasn't just a reaction to his behavior, it was an act of self-respect. And now as he reaches out, it's not about whether he misses you, it's about whether he's willing to do the work to be a part of your life in a way that honors who you are. By staying grounded in your worth, you ensure that any connection moving forward is built on authenticity, effort, and mutual respect. When a man finally realizes that you're not going to chase after him, something profound begins to shift in his perspective. Initially, he might dismiss it, thinking she'll come around. She always does. But as time stretches on and your silence remains consistent, it certainly starts to waver. This is the moment where his mind begins to race, questioning everything he thought he understood about the dynamic between you. The quietness of your absence leaves space for reflection. And whether he admits it or not, he starts replaying moments in his mind. The things you said, the times you showed up for him, the ways you invested in him emotionally and mentally, all of it resurfaces. He begins to wonder if he took you for granted. This self-reflection can be uncomfortable because it forces him to confront truths he may have avoided when your presence was constant. What's even more impactful is that your withdrawal subtly shifts the power dynamic. You're no longer the one trying to prove your value or fighting for attention. By stepping back, you've given him the space to feel what life is like without you. And the truth is that absence can be unsettling. And men often don't realize the depth of a woman's influence until it's gone. Your absence isn't just noticed, it's felt deeply. This stage is where he starts to question his own role in the situation. Did he undervalue you? Was he dismissive of your needs? Could he have done more to meet you halfway? These aren't questions that arise when you're constantly available, because in those moments, there's no real urgency for him to consider the consequences of his actions or inactions. But when the calls and texts stop, when you no longer prioritize him over your peace, it creates a wake-up call. In some cases, he might try to distract himself, filling his time with friends, work, or hobbies. But even in those moments, there's an underlying awareness that something is missing. And what's missing isn't just a person, it's the emotional connection, the comfort of knowing someone truly cared. That realization has the potential to spark change, but it also puts him at a crossroads. He can either take action to show he values you or retreat into denial, trying to convince himself that it doesn't matter. This is where your silence becomes your strength. It's not about manipulation, it's about giving him the opportunity to see the reality of his choices. Your absence isn't a punishment, it's a boundary. A clear signal that you will no longer settle for less than mutual respect and effort. And whether he decides to step up or not, your actions have already set the tone for what you will and won't accept in the future. By holding your ground, you reinforce the idea that your worth isn't dependent on his recognition. It's rooted in your understanding of who you are and what you deserve. If he decides to reach out, it must come from a place of genuine intention, not just a fear of losing you temporarily. And if he doesn't, you've already positioned yourself to continue forward stronger and more self-assured than before. When a man finally reaches out after your silence, it's not just an impulsive action, it's a moment of clarity, driven by the realization of your value. At this stage, his words and actions reveal the truth of his intentions. You see, when you step back and chosen to prioritize yourself, it changes the dynamic entirely. His reaching out is no longer about routine or habit. It's about a deeper recognition that something meaningful has shifted. This is the point where he begins to evaluate what he truly wants. If his efforts to contact you are sincere, it will reflect in his tone, the thoughtfulness of his words, and his willingness to engage in meaningful conversation. He may open up about his feelings, admitting the impact your absence had on him. For some men, this might be the first time they've truly had to articulate their emotions, and that's significant. It's a testament to the boundaries you've set and the respect you've demanded without even uttering a word. But here's the thing, his return isn't automatically a victory. What matters most is your response. This is where you hold the power. The question isn't whether he misses you, it's whether he's ready to match your energy, to invest in the relationship in a way that's balanced and fulfilling for both of you. Because the goal of stepping back wasn't just to make him miss you, it was to reclaim your time, your peace, and your sense of self. Sometimes when a man reaches out, it's driven by the fear of losing control. He might try to resume the dynamic as it was before, hoping to slip back into old patterns where you were always the one reaching out, fixing things or making sacrifices. That's why it's so important for you to remain clear and grounded in what you want moving forward. Your silence was not just a break, it was a statement about what you will no longer tolerate. If his approach lacks sincerity or accountability, it's a red flag. He may reach out because he feels a void, but not necessarily because he's ready to step up. This is where you have to be discerning, to listen not just to his words, but to his actions. Is he showing consistency? Is he willing to have the uncomfortable conversations that build trust? These are the questions you need to ask yourself because they reveal his true intentions. However, if his efforts are genuine, if he's showing growth and a willingness to meet you where you are, that's when you can begin to rebuild the connection. This doesn't mean rushing back into the same dynamic. It means establishing a new foundation based on mutual respect, open communication, and shared effort. It's about making sure the relationship aligns with your values and long-term goals. Ultimately, his reaction to your silence is not just about missing you. It's about realizing that you've elevated yourself. You've shown him, and more importantly, yourself, that you won't settle for less than what you deserve. And whether he steps up or not, you've already won because you've taken control of your narrative, your emotions, and your life. Keep that power because it's the key to creating the relationships and the life that truly fulfills you. When you remain silent and let a man process your absence, something transformative begins to happen, not just for him, but for you as well. At this stage, the silence isn't just about him reaching out. It's about giving yourself the space to evaluate his actions objectively. Silence creates clarity. It removes the noise and distractions that often cloud your judgment. It's in the stillness that you discover the power of your worth and the depth of your expectations. When a man finally reaches out, his effort or lack thereof becomes a direct reflection of how much he values the connection. But here's the thing, his reaction is only part of the equation. The other, and perhaps the most important part, is your response. Will you let him back into your life under the same terms, or will you use this moment to set a new standard for how you're treated? This isn't about playing games. It's about stepping into your power and demanding the respect you deserve. Sometimes his response may come with apologies or promises to do better. But words, as comforting as they may be, are not enough. At this stage, actions speak louder than ever. Is he showing you that he's willing to make real changes? Is he demonstrating consistency? A man who truly values you will show up in ways that go beyond a single text or call. He will take deliberate steps to rebuild trust and earn his place in your life again. But let's also acknowledge that not every man will step up. Some will reach out of habit or loneliness, not because they're ready to put in the effort that a meaningful relationship requires. And that's okay. Your silence wasn't just a strategy to get his attention. It was a boundary you set to protect your peace. If his reaction doesn't align with the growth you've achieved during this time, then it's a clear sign that his role in your life may no longer serve your journey. In this stage, you hold all the cards. This is not about waiting for him to validate your worth. It's about deciding whether his energy matches yours. Are you better off with him in your life? Or does his absence create more peace than his presence ever did? These are the questions that define your next move. And through it all, remember that your silence is not a loss, it's a statement. It's a way of showing yourself that you deserve relationships that are balanced, fulfilling, and rooted in mutual respect. Whether he chooses to step up or step away, your journey continues stronger and more self-assured than ever. This is your time to reclaim your narrative and walk boldly toward the connections that align with the love and respect you deserve. In the final stage, when a man realizes the depth of his emotions, it's a turning point, not just for him, but for the entire dynamic between you. This is when the true essence of the relationship comes into focus. He's had time to reflect, to question, and most importantly, to feel the impact of your absence. And in that space, he begins to understand that losing you is not just about missing someone, it's about losing the kind of connection that can't be easily replaced. But this isn't just about his realization, it's about your growth too. During this time, you've had the opportunity to reassess your values, your needs, and your boundaries. You've come to understand that you don't need to chase anyone to prove your worth. The silence, though it may have been challenging at times, has been your teacher. It has shown you the strength you carry within and the power of letting go of what no longer aligns with your peace. When he reaches out, it's a pivotal moment. His actions at this stage will tell you everything you need to know. Is he coming back with genuine intentions? Is he ready to meet you where you are emotionally and mentally? Or is his return a reaction to the discomfort of being alone rather than a desire to truly grow together? These questions are crucial because your next step isn't about whether he wants you back. It's about whether his presence in your life aligns with the version of you that has emerged during this time. Sometimes a man will come back ready to prove himself. He will acknowledge the areas where he fell short, and he'll take intentional steps to rebuild what was lost. But even then, you must remain grounded in your standards. It's not enough for him to want you back. He needs to actively show that he values and respects the person you become. And if his actions don't match his words, then your silence has done its job. It has revealed the truth. Other times, a man may not come back at all, or his return might lack the depth and sincerity you deserve. And that's okay, because by this point, you've learned that your life, your happiness, and your journey do not hinge on anyone else's presence. You've discovered that walking away isn't a loss, it's an act of reclaiming your power. And in doing so, you've created space for relationships that truly honor your worth. This final stage is about clarity and choice. It's about deciding what kind of love and connection you want to allow into your life moving forward. And whether he steps up or not, you've already won, because the most important relationship you strengthen is the one with yourself. Keep moving forward with confidence, knowing that the love you seek begins within you. As we move into the final key point, we need to address the importance of maintaining your sense of self-worth and identity, especially after a period of no contact. This is the stage where you have fully internalized the lessons learned from the silence, and you've embraced the idea that your value doesn't depend on someone else's validation. When you've allowed yourself the space to heal, reflect, and grow, you are in a position of strength. It's not just about becoming emotionally independent, but about recognizing that you are the whole person, with or without anyone's approval or affection. A critical realization that occurs during this time is that the power to attract the right kind of love and respect lies entirely within you. The ability to walk away, to set boundaries, to say no when necessary, these are all acts of self-respect that ultimately increase your attractiveness. Not in a superficial way, but in a deep magnetic sense that pulls the right energy and people into your life. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but it builds gradually through consistent, self-affirming actions that reinforce your inner strength. Every moment you choose to honor yourself, every moment you prioritize your peace, is a step toward becoming the best version of yourself. As he begins to reach out, he's going to test the waters. He may come with a sense of urgency, trying to get back into your life quickly, but you must approach this with caution. It's important to evaluate whether his return is for the right reasons. Is he coming back because he has realized your worth, or because he feels the void your absence has created? It's vital to assess whether this is about his emotional neediness, or if it's rooted in a genuine desire to rebuild a strong, balanced relationship. If his intentions are clear and sincere, then it's worth considering where to go next. But if he is simply reacting to the void left behind, you must remain strong and steady. During this time of no contact, Your focus should shift from what he may or may not do to how you continue to evolve. It's about creating the space for your life to expand beyond what was and embracing the future with confidence and optimism. And even if he returns, you are no longer dependent on the idea of him coming back. You are focused on your own path, your own happiness, and your own growth. This is what makes you truly irresistible, not a dependence on external validation, but an internal, unshakable sense of self-worth. One of the most empowering things you can do in this phase is to show yourself the love and compassion you might have once been seeking from him. This self-love is what creates the foundation for attracting the right kind of love. By focusing on your goals, pursuing your passions, and investing in your own well-being, you show the world that you are more than capable of thriving on your own. This attracts people who are aligned with your energy, who will bring value to your life rather than disrupt your peace. Ultimately, the most significant lesson here is this: you have the power to shape your reality and attract the kind of love that is truly deserving of you. Walking away and maintaining distance is not a defeat, it is a victory. It is an affirmation of your worth and an acknowledgement that you will not settle for anything less than the love and respect you deserve. The journey you've been on through the silence, the growth, and the healing has led you to a place where you are stronger, wiser, and more capable of attracting the relationship that complements the person you have become. So as you close this chapter and prepare for whatever comes next, remember this: the love you attract will always mirror the love you have for yourself. And when you fully embrace your worth, you will see that the right kind of love will naturally find its way to you.